Hello children and welcome to my second video on area. It's the first small step in finding the area of a triangle. Last time we looked at finding the area of a rectangle. The formula for that was area equals length times width. And when we are writing formula, we do not use the times symbol because the times symbol looks like an X, which can get confusing. So we just simply put A equals LW. Simple as that. And then the last example, the length was 6 centimeters, the width was 4 centimeters, 6 times 4, and the area was 24 centimeters squared. Remember that, squared. So we'll move on today and we'll look at triangles. Because this is only the first step, we're not going to worry about any formula whatsoever. We're just going to simply count the number of squares that we see. So let's count the number of squares on our diagram here. The sentences say, complete the sentences to describe the triangle. The triangle has blank full squares. We're going to count the number of full squares, okay? And I am going to just note on here, when I do this with a pencil, the number of squares that I see. I will put a little dot because then I'll know which ones that I've actually counted. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 full squares. Write that in best that I can. But we notice that there are a number of half squares. And if you remember anything in the very least from fractions, is that a half plus a half equals 1 whole. When the numerator and the denominator are the same, it's 1 whole. So if we put the two halves together, we have 1 whole. How many half squares does it have? Well, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 half squares. And of course, a half plus a half is a whole. And a half plus a half is a whole. So they make a total of 2 full squares each. A half plus a half makes 1. A half plus another half makes 2. So I hope that's clear to you. You take the halves and you put them together to make 1 whole. Half plus a half equals 1 whole. So here we have this half plus this half equals 1. And this half plus this half equals 1 whole. Put the two together, 1 plus 1, 2. Add them onto the 6 full squares. And then, of course, our answer is going to be 6 full squares plus the 4 half squares. The 4 half squares together were 2 whole squares equals 8. So the area of the triangle is 8 centimeters squared. Don't forget that squared. I know it's already on there, but when you're writing this in your book, don't forget the little 2, which means squared. So moving on, sometimes it's not as easy as counting half squares. You might get part of a square that's shaded. But notice something interesting here. This triangle in the bottom left fits nicely into this space here. So if we actually put the part on the left, the part next to it, we actually make 1 whole. And if we put this part here, you'll notice that it fits nicely into this space here. So if we put the part on the left, the part on the right, again, we end up with another whole square. So let's just count how many we've got in total. Well, there are 1, 2 whole squares here. These two together will make 1, and these two together will make 1. So, of course, 2 plus 1 equals 4 centimeters squared. Now, on the next slide, this is the work. I'm going to leave this on so you can either pause the video or you can take a screenshot so that you can zoom in. I want you to have a go at these in your book. Please don't worry about drawing them. I don't want you to do that. I want you to just count the number of squares and half squares or parts of squares that you see and put them together. I will leave it on for a short amount of time so you can pause it, you can screenshot it, and then I will move to the next slide, which is a challenge, and you can do the same with that as well. And please have a go in your book. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it made sense. If you have any questions about things, of course, don't worry about asking on Seesaw, and I will try and answer you best that I can. So, for now, take care, stay safe, bye-bye.